Until just recently, it appeared that the U.S. retail investor was absent, at least on the exchange-traded products. They've been buying physical gold, but not so much on the ETFs. Mostly the Chinese retail buyers, and obviously the Chinese central bank as well, and the like, have been buying. Of late, that might have changed. I say might because a week or so doesn't make a trend yet. But yes, much of the gold rally has happened without broad retail participation in the U.S.
What does that signal to you?
That's an excellent question. I mean, if you are a gold bug, then it means there's a lot of upside potential when those folks finally come in. If you are on the bearish side, you can say, well, it's been lukewarm. It's only the Chinese that have been buying. At some point, the Chinese central bank will stop buying. And by the way, the Fed is going to be more hawkish and so forth. So with any of these things, gold is this one asset that you're always glad you had, but never quite know why you want to have it for tomorrow. And so people put different spins on these stories. As I think you're aware, I've been a gold investor for many years. And through the ups and downs, and it's but the psychology of gold investing is a completely different story.
I look at gold back 20 years. You can do this on the Bloomberg, folks. I'm doing this semi-log where percentage change matters. And, you know, there was a quietude to gold from 2012-ish on over. It actually went down some. But it's amazing on a log chart, Damian Sassower, gold with this leg up to 2346 back 20 years is a legitimate trend and really isn't extended. I didn't know that.
Well, for me, it's really what does drive gold. And Axel, my question for you is, I've always been taught that real yields are probably the best driver of the price of gold. But, you know, is it indeed supply and demand at this point? I mean, is it really central bank buying, this asymmetric sort of return profile for gold that, hey, you know, now that these central banks own it, they're not going to be selling it. And, you know, the price only has up to go from here. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Well, price, it's always supply and demand with any asset. Yes, the real yield is what we have been quote unquote taught. But the one thing about gold is correlations aren't stable. Whenever you think that you find a correlation, it starts to break down. Take a correlation to equities. Correlation to equities in the long run is zero, but it doesn't mean it's never correlated. It sometimes goes with the S&P and sometimes against the S&P. Always just enough to frustrate people. But indeed, it has decoupled, so to speak, from real yields. And most of what we look at is longer term real yields, like a 7 or 10 year, but those have broken down as well. Now, keep in mind that there are plenty of reasons to be a gold bug. I mean, it's you just mentioned some sad geopolitics. I happen to think that what we see in Gaza, also in Ukraine, are just symptoms of a new era. And similarly, of course, the Chinese, they know that the dollar has been used more as a financial weapon. So all these things, if you want to be the glass half full guy, that is it. But at the same time, right, in the short run, anything can happen. Gold has had a fantastic run.
Well, Axel, talk to us about the broader precious metals complex. I mean, are there opportunities for silver here, for platinum, palladium?
Well, the silver folks have finally a day to celebrate. I mean, it's the silver for a long period lagged the price of gold, and silver seems to have broken out from that a little bit. I'm a simpleton. I focus on gold because it doesn't. I call it the purest indicator of the mania of policymakers at the Fed and other central banks around the world. The moment you go to other metals, it's industrial dynamics that play a much bigger role. And it may be in part that manufacturing PMIs around the world are picking up, suggesting that on the manufacturing side, we are not entering a recession. And that's why silver has been doing better, because silver doesn't do so well in a recession usually.